All right, we are coming live to you with a new show today on how to be in this world when you are not in this world. Is that the title?
Yeah,
How to be
pretty
in
much.
this world when you're out of this world.
There you
how to
go.
be in how to be in this world but not of it would be is what I always want to say, but just because I've heard that saying so much. We have Shireen with us. Say hi, Shireen.
Hi, friends.
And we have a new guest, Shakti. Say
Hey
hi.
there. Hi, everybody.
Shakti is our minister of comments, so she will do her best to anyone who's commenting in that you can say hello or whatever, and Shakti will be your voice. Looks like comments are working. Yes, Hal. Okay, cool. So, Shireen, why don't you kick off with what inspired you for this, and then I think Shakti also has something to chime in with.
Okay. I'm all in, baby. All right. So we were talking about what topic we should discuss today, and I'm just in a place in my life where I'm trying to like tighten it up, trying to get better at life, basically, which I imagine we're all doing, which is why we do these live streams, watch these live streams, are a part of this kind of a conscious conversation. And I find that sometimes, like managing money or really taking care of like health and fitness, like the very physical, tangible things of this world are like actually quite difficult for me to do well because my brain is so in the future or in the vision or in like saving the world or like, eradicating human trafficking. Like I'm so out, like I'm not in my current moment or in my current circumstances or in a spreadsheet. Like I just find that that's my weak spot. So I don't know. I think I'm just coming to terms with the fact that I'm a little bit like not that great at things that are normal people things. And so I thought maybe we could discuss, because I know a lot of Wayseers probably have the same kind of feeling. Like they're all very creative, they're all very inspiring, they're all very big risk takers, like they like adventure. And sometimes when you're that type, you don't freaking love looking at a spreadsheet and managing your money, So yeah, it's just kind of just thinking about that lately.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely agree with you, Shireen. I think we live in we live in a mundane world. We live in something that I call a matrix, and doing the everyday things like going to work or fixing your roof.
Right?
Those things are hard for me. And so what I do, and I don't know if this is a word that we've used a lot on this channel, but I do something called astral traveling. And so I am flying out of my body all the time, even when I'm like consciously here. And so it's so much more interesting for me to be in different dimensional realities. And so coming down and actually embodying my whole entire being has been a struggle for the past 3 years. And so I'm really glad we're talking about this. I would love to hear what you guys have to say.
What do you think, Garrett? Because I'm about to go crazy on that one.
I'm with both of you. I mean, I was just thinking today, like I can't wake up. I'm just like walking. I'm like stumbling around, and I just can't like get the fuck awake. And I'm drinking Pounding Rock Stars, which is like Red Bulls except bigger cans, and I don't know. I mean, getting to the gym and having a good workout, that helps. That like helps get me grounded. That helps get me like on this planet. But I know, like what you're saying, Shakti, it's like, astral travel, it's a funny word. I think if there was another word that didn't sound so far out, I think, a lot of people could I mean, I know a lot of people can relate to it, but I think there's probably like something like daydreaming or something that we all can like say, oh yeah, it's that, or it's kind of that. Like, I don't know. What's the doorway to astral travel? Is it daydreaming? Is it visioning? Is it?
You can call it that for sure. I would say out of body experiences. That's
Yeah.
probably
Okay.
more of the accurate.
I have
Yeah.
to chime in here because it's crazy that you're mentioning this because first of all, I literally never heard that word in my entire life until Sunday. I just went to this little get together with all these like artsy fartsy conscious chicks here in LA. And one of them was talking about this and how we all do it in our sleep, that we like sort of like hover over our bodies and we like go to other planes and do work that we're not even aware of, and then we come back.
Yeah,
And so it
absolutely.
sort of gave me a little bit of like a, like what the freaking hell is this? So it's kind of fun that you're giving me a little education because I don't know shit about it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna back up Shireen on that one. But I've been to like, what do you call it, energy healers and stuff like that, and I've had like someone who's reading my chakras or something like that. She was saying like, you're not in your body most of the time. You're traveling, doing astral travel or whatever. And I'm like, I mean, I kind of get that because I'm not fucking here most of the time. Yeah, I'm in my mind at least, I think, or maybe I'm not in my body. So, Shakti, tell us more, like, what is astral travel and how does it work? Short radio version form so that we don't lose people, though, okay?
Right. Well, you have to be careful with it because you can go anywhere, and there are beings all the way from benevolent to malevolent. So you just have to be really careful with it. But it's essentially just exploring what life is like on the other side of the veil. For me, I've been able to talk with the dead, people that have deceased, people that have not been born yet. And just channel into some of the most incredible, amazing beings. But you have to be conscious about it when you're doing it. I think it's just a matter of becoming conscious because you can do it while you're dreaming, while you're going throughout your day. I mean, it really just depends. But a lot of it is just opening up your third eye and going from there.
Okay, so tell me, like, I get the dreaming bit, and I think I've done my share of zooming around. In my dream, someone just said that they've been having a bunch of lucid dreams recently, so it's like that's I think that's in the vicinity of it. But like, okay, when you're awake, like I know I'll be in weird places mentally or something. That's how I experience it. But I don't experience like, whoa, I was just in Tanzania. I better pull myself like back.
I do.
Really? Where are you? Where have you been in the last 5 minutes?
I know. It's a matter of thought. So whatever you're thinking is where you're going. It's what you're experiencing. It's called being here in the now, and it forces you to really be careful about where you're thinking because you don't want to go to a nightmare, which by the way you absolutely can. But what exactly is like your question, like how do you do it? I'm writing a book on that and that could take like forever, but
before we get into how do you do it, I'm just more curious what the experience is like. I know like when I'm dreaming and I go somewhere in my dream, it's like I'm really there, I'm fully immersed in being in that place. And if I'm lucid dreaming, I'm like, okay, I'm dreaming and I can go anywhere I want in the known or unknown universe, so that's pretty cool. But then when I'm awake, like I could be lost in thought, and I often am, but I rarely find myself like lost in another place. And like, whoa, I was just, in the astral realm dealing with a Klingon. I don't know, whatever it is. As opposed, so tell me what that's like.
You can do both at the same time. Your body is actually, it's a multi-dimensional, and you can exist on 5 different planes at the same time on so many different parallel realities. It just depends on how multi-talented you are and how the longer you do it, the better you get at it. So you can be awake, literally walking throughout your day and have yourself split completely somewhere else and tuning into something else and getting information that way while you're still interacting with your world. But I find the best time to do it when I really want to leave and separate from this body is around 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I wake up at 3 a.m. all the time. Is that like a thing? It's a
time where a lot of portals and dimensions and realities are open up. So I don't know how that works globally, but
because I literally woke up this morning at 3 in the morning, and I wake up all the time at 3 in the morning, and I have this like urban shaman lady who works with herbs who's like trying to give me these herbs to help me freaking sleep like a normal person.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I'm anywhere but here. Like, this is interesting because I'm almost curious, like, how do you know you're doing it, and why do Garrett and I not know, or why aren't we doing it? You know what I mean? Like, did you go to a class or
Well, yes. you develop it. I developed it through the food that I eat. I got fluoride out of out of the water. I've really lowered meat. I eat tons of fruits and veggies, and so these are foods that elevate the frequency of your body, and you can actually start tuning into like different frequencies. It's like tuning into a different radio channel. And so I did that. I meditated a lot, and it's taken me. I've been wanting to do these kinds of things for years. I started developing them about 3 years ago exactly, and it just gets stronger and stronger the farther along the path that you go. The more intense and acute that these abilities get and the more conscious you become of them. So you start reading into your own subconscious and where that's going, because we all know we're split between conscious and subconscious. So
Yeah.
but you absolutely can. That's what I am trying to teach people, is to activate that DNA inside your body so that you can. But we're talking about staying here on the planet, though, right? More about grounding inside our bodies.
Hold on, girlfriend. Hold on here, because I'm like,
Okay.
you know, tell me this. What would be the point? Like for me right now, like I can't do what you can do, and I don't even know why I would want to. You know what I mean? Like, why is it beneficial or helpful?
Yeah. Not everybody wants to do it. Some people are absolutely petrified of it, because not only can you do that, but you tap into things like your Akashic records, which is your past lives. And knowing your past lives right now are not always beneficial for you in this current life, because it can really distract you from your purpose and make you yearn for something else. At least that's what it's done to me. So
that's interesting. I just got my Akashic records read like a couple months ago on my birthday. It's a very interesting experience.
Akashic records are huge. I've looked into at least 25 million years of lifetimes for me. So I've been here for
God. See, this is why I wouldn't want to do it. I'd just be like, all right, it's too much information. I don't even know.
It's a lot. So
25 million years. That's a lot. I mean, how could you even process that much time do you leave time and space to do that? Like, are you out of And this all reminds me of my favorite thing when I was young. My favorite version of astral travel was when Mr. Rogers would be like, okay, it's time to go to the land of make-believe. Like, I'd be like, yay, we're going there now. Like, I think that was like Mr. Rogers tuning in to the Indigo generation. Like, all right, this little tribe here that's coming on this planet, they all like to go to the land of make-believe, so let's do it. Like, that was my favorite place.
Yep. He might have been tuning into it. I really did.
So, okay, so hold on. So, like, I feel like I don't really still know why it would be good. You said, like, why it might be not good. You know, it could be, like, overwhelming. But, like, why would someone want to develop this?
The reason why I believe this to be very beneficial is because it can tap you into your life purpose, and it accentuates where you want to go in this life. It essentially gives you guidelines and directions. And cool. So I've tapped into my life purpose, and it's super intense, and I wouldn't have known it if I wasn't able to astral travel or jump out of the body.
I like it.
There's so many benefits that come with it too.
So then of course I have to ask now, what's your life purpose? Give it to us, girl.
You really want to know?
Yeah, all day.
Okay, I'll give it a nutshell. It's to elevate Earth frequency. There are a whole lot of beings and entities and spirits that really want to come down to Earth, and they're not able to because we are living in such a dense reality. So there's a lot of pain that's going on. There's a lot of torture. There's a lot of things going on in the world that are not okay. And because of that, they're not able to reincarnate. And so my mission and my goal is to help elevate that frequency by awakening human consciousness, mass human consciousness, so that they're able to live at that level and that frequency. So it's kind of like a new age, an awakening, bringing the planet into a completely different reality.
That's beautiful.
What we're living in right now, it's not okay. I don't.
So do you, when you're interacting with people, do you read their records too? Like,
yes.
And do you just like do it casually, or do you like have to ask permission and all that stuff to do it?
That's what I'm working on. It's all about integrity and ethicality. I'm learning to not go where I'm not supposed to go.
Seriously, Shakti, get out of my records right now, girl.
I could tell she was fucking with your record, Shireen. You were again.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. You do have to ask permission, and I don't have boundaries yet, so I'm learning how to really put those up. So don't mind me.
All right, so like, how easy is it for you? Like, is it something where you have to like kind of go into a trance or whatever to see records, or like could you like start reading my records off to me as we're hanging out here on this show right now?
I've seen a few of yours already. So,
oh yeah. Exposed. What have you seen? Garrett's
impressive. I mean, and I could be wrong. You know, always correct me, but I think I believe that Garrett was JFK. So, and he's just come right back down into his body, and he's doing what he's doing right now, which is incredible. But I mean, I you know, you got to relate with that. So.
Okay, you want to hear something weird? One of my best friends, I love this guy like crazy, was John F. Kennedy's speechwriter.
Oh wow!
Oh my God!
He just died, but I loved this guy like crazy. Like he was like, I don't know, I just loved hanging out with him.
Wow!
And he was John F. Kennedy's speechwriter. Yeah, he was a good friend of John F. Kennedy's. So that is kind of weird. I have no idea. I don't remember being John F. Kennedy, just for the record. So, and please stay away from my motherfucking head, people. I do not want to be shot again if that was me.
Yeah.
All right.
So I can tell you like what your regrets were, like, and everything when that happened. Like, well, you felt like you had neglected your family a little bit. You wanted to spend more time with them, and you were so focused on your career and so dived down into that it just kind of happened, and it was like a blackout. But you really made your footprint, obviously. But
yeah,
that's all.
Holy shit. Okay, tell me that this is some. Well, I mean, that really rings true for me. Like, I am crazy family oriented now. Like, I will continue. Like, if I have a choice, career or family, every single time I've chosen family. And it's just been like actually a real detriment to my career, and which is why you don't see a lot of videos and stuff from me, is because oftentimes the kids need attention or something of that sort. So I am, and I think there's always been, okay, another thing that rings true about this is there's always been a fear in me about becoming too well known or too prominent, and it's like an assassination fear. That's always been a deep-seated fear of mine my whole life.
Well.
And now we know why.
Yeah.
So like literally, you know, doing stuff out, like, you know, making videos, and you'll notice most of my videos, I'm not very, like, my voice is on them, but you don't see me very much in the videos. And I think it's like, because like, I don't want to be killed. Like I have a fear of death in me of like being too out there. So that's, yeah, that's weird. Okay, that's a weird thing. Now, what else you got? Let's just do this. Tell me what else you got.
Do a reading. Let's do this. Shakti. What?
Oh God,
so exciting.
Shoot. All right. Well, where can we go with this? Well, you did ask a question, Garrett, about time. Like, how do you exist all in these multidimensional realities all at the same time? I've learned that time actually bends in on itself, and so you can experience it past, present, and future. And there are things that you can even do. You can go back into your history and your past and change your energetic blueprint by interacting with it astrally. So I don't know. It's this. I learned all this stuff from Teal Swan. Is anybody familiar with her?
No, but I want to get back to like me. No? Let's talk about me.
Yeah. Oh, is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
Like what else?
Yeah. Do you see anything else in his records? Any other?
Jesse's yelling, "Read Garrett! Read Garrett!" Yeah, read me.
Okay.
I give you full permission. You could be as crazy. You can say the most far out shit. It's okay. I give you full permission. Yeah.
Because we're live, so
yeah, why not?
She's like, "We're about to."
This is dangerous, people. She's gonna be like, "You know what you did."
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Like when you say that, I've met rapists and murderists and like I've seen everybody's skeleton. But no, that's not Garrett. That's not Garrett there. Kurt.
Just don't be saying anything I did in this lifetime, because I might not be outside the statute of limitations. So
No, I'll keep you safe. I'll keep you safe. I've seen energetically where Garrett's at right now, like where you are emotionally, and it comes in pictures and visions and images, and you have to interpret those when you receive them. So hopefully I'm interpreting them correctly, but the way that you're feeling right now, Garrett, is it's like you're inside a house. It's dark inside, and you've got all this work to do inside the house, but you're looking out the window. And so essentially I get the feeling that you feel trapped here, currently on this body, on not necessarily on this path or this route that you're doing, but subconsciously you know that there are better places, more mythical, more magical places to be. And essentially while we're here on this planet is we're doing our job, we're doing our duty, and you kind of want to get on with it and get done with it and just leave and go somewhere. So that's
Is that really true, Garrett?
yeah, I mean, yeah. Why do you think I'm out under the stars so many nights? I mean, yeah, I'm okay. So like that's this lifetime. By the way, Shireen, I don't know if you were twiddling with something, but like somebody's microphone was just getting hammered while Shakti was talking. Yeah, but I was watching Shakti's microphone, unless she's got a different microphone. Like somebody was hammering their microphone. Okay, so just be aware. Okay, just be aware. I don't know who it is.
Hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you good. So okay. What can you read stuff like real time, or is that like something where you could be like, okay, I can read stuff from lifetimes ago, or stuff that's like, this is what you need to do in this lifetime, or
I'm getting good at it. I'm not at that point to where I can actually pick and choose exactly what it is that I'm reading off of that person. It comes in so many different forms and in so many different ways, and it can be super abstract, and but they're just bits and pieces of information that come at the time while I'm interacting with you. But I'm pretty sure that as I continue to develop it, which I am doing, it will get to that point. So it's never ending. It's incredible.
Okay. Well, feel free to like shout out if you get any bits and pieces about Garrett, and even if you have anything for me, honey.
Oh boy.
Bring on the goods.
Yeah. Well, I know with Shireen, since I've been talking with Garrett, because I know I've been. Oh, is she talking right now? Crap, we're talking at the same time. No. Is it overriding? Okay. Shireen, you don't astral travel too much, not a lot. You're in your body quite a bit, and invested in your life and what you're doing. So, which is neither good nor bad. It just means you're having the full experience.
Well, that's because she's got little babies. She's got little kids running around. It's hot. You can't be traveling too much when you got those babies to look out for.
That's right. You gotta be here for those kiddos.
Yeah. So what other things that you said you were before you came or something, you had a couple hits. I love this. This is a lot of fun. What were the things that you read up on me, like besides the JFK thing, or in more detail, like whatever you got, because I'm finding this hilariously fun.
I have to forgive my technology. It froze and I completely missed that question. So what other things have you read on my Akashic records or whatever? Like, what are the other things that you've read? Like, I'm just curious. Like, is there any stuff I'm supposed to do, or maybe you could go into a little more detail on what you've already said, because I was a little distracted by the microphone thing. Right. With you are more of a mentor for this life. You are someone that can really get behind a very talented person and just make them bloom wings, like just give them wings. Because I I'm pretty sure that you're older than I am, when it comes to your lives. But with, having that fear of being assassinated, and that is a very real fear, and I understand that fear, and most likely because it did happen, to you. I've looked into my Akashic records. I've been burned alive. Like, it gets as deep, dark, and as gruesome as it comes, and you remember all of it if you go into that. But the way that I see you, Garrett, is that you're very family oriented, and the role that you've taken in this life is you really enjoy waking people up, helping people, giving them that boost, that fire, but you want to stay more in the background as of in this life. You enjoy family life a lot more than you do publicity. And yeah, just being a mentor and doing what you're doing right now, you're already living it. You're already living that life. So I would say you're already on the path.
Cool.
But yeah.
What else?
More comes later.
Wait. What comes later? What's...
Oh, it just comes, the more I continue talking with you, the more proximity that we have. Yeah, I was talking with you last night. But a lot of the times it's with your higher self, or your subconscious, and sometimes it will hit the conscious, and when it hits conscious, you'll actually remember it. You'll remember our conversations.
Whoa. So what did I say last night?
It was just about your family, so just keeping them protected, and you value them quite a bit.
Yeah, don't be spilling any of my secrets.
I won't.
We'll talk later.
No worries.
Shireen's just there like,
bad boy.
Well, like, I want to know, because, like, honestly, like with me and Garrett, I'm always trying to get him to be out more, and just like I want him to get his shit out. Like, I just think he's like such an awakening dude, and like so talented, and clearly has like just like such spiritual power. So I'm always wanting to like push him off the cliff and like get him to like spread his wings, whereas I feel like your reading is kind of saying let him be. Like, he's been through a lot, and he needs to just like be in this like sort of like family mentor role in this lifetime. So with all that context, like, if I were to ask you right now, like, what should Garrett's next moves be? Like, what should he be focusing on in his work? Like, what comes to you?
It's a 50-50, definitely. He loves his career. He's not giving that up. But you just have to balance your time, like, and know what your priorities are, and where you want to go, and he's already pretty good at that. And no, Shireen, keep pushing him out the window. You're doing your job. It's what you're supposed to be doing. So
okay, good.
He needs that. Yeah.
Cool. So what's our collective roles together? Like, if we've been having conversations, and it seems like you're drawn to this work, or at least this show, have you had any insights of work we're all supposed to do together?
You and Shireen are you connect with the very 3D dimensional, people that are here, invested here and in the now. And so, I don't have any complaints with what you guys have spoken about, what you've talked about. It's been very interesting. It's why I tune in all the time. So you're already doing that. Now my role with you guys is it's to be determined. It depends on, how things go, of course. So.
Now Jesse is yelling at us, "You shit, Garrett." I don't know where that's coming from, Jesse. I get that it's in good spirits, but I don't know what in particular you're referring to. So Jesse, what provoked that? What provoked that, Jesse? Okay, so now Larry's like, straight up, most of this woo-woo stuff is nauseating to me. I'll stick around in case there's a payoff, though. Okay, well, so this is where I was trying to ground us originally, because we're dealing with the whole spectrum, and you just said, like, the 3D stuff, and I'm interpreting that as third density, like, in-the-world stuff. Like, how does somebody who's focused on in-the-world stuff translate all this woo-woo stuff into something that's actually useful to them? And I'll give you some kind of tips here. One is, like, Albert Einstein arguably changed the face of this planet. He's the one who tipped off the president about nuclear power possibilities. He did the whole E equals MC squared. He was a pivotal figure in, in how the world works. And I'm going to say, like, he used to get his ideas from what I would call sort of like the astral realm, which is like the dream space. Like that's where he got his information from. Thomas Edison, Tesla, same deal. They were getting their ideas from like this other place. Even Steve Jobs like talked about how LSD was like what got him to be able to get his ideas from this other place. So if you want to be like straight up an inspired genius on this plane, you also have to like be able to get to the other plane too. Now you can get to that other plane just by dreaming. Like when you have a problem and you're working hard on a problem, you can go to sleep and think about that problem as you fall asleep, and your dreams will kind of help you answer that riddle, which is what Thomas Edison did, which is what Leonardo da Vinci did, which is what Albert Einstein did. But then the additional thing here that I think Shakti is turning us on to is that realm of your great unconscious mind is something you could be accessing consciously on a moment-to-moment basis and getting all kinds of very insightful inspiration. So that's for you, Larry. What else we got here?
Yes, you hit that right on the dot. That was good. So it's where all the magic comes from.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is like we get hung up as human beings on words too much, and sometimes like we'll judge a word as I don't know, conflicting with our belief system, and then like we become defensive towards those words, which is why I was saying, okay, we're going to start talking about astral travel here. And I know there's like anyone who's not into woo is going to be like, and even people who are going to be like, I don't know if I can get on board with those words. But it's like having different words for God. It's like having, different words for feelings. It's like, so you could call it astral travel, or you could call it like divine inspiration, or you could call it just like the creative muse. You could call it like, there's so many different words that we can use to conjure things. But really, the fundamental is that we are, everything is symbols in our conscious world. Like your conscious mind can't hold enough information to not turn everything into symbols. So everything that you see and hear and all the words you hear, those are all just symbols, and those symbols are pointers to the reality, but they're not the reality. And therefore, if you want a richer mind world, a richer ability to process information, you need richer symbols. And so astral travel is like a very rich symbolism that you can access that gives you all kinds of information you normally wouldn't have access to. But all that information inherently still has to be in your mind for you to access it. And so some people might call it astral travel, others might call it the land of make-believe or your imagination. And I think imagination is the portal to these realms of intelligence that when we're being 3D or terrestrial beings, just in our physical selves, we go, it's just your imagination. But imagination is what created all of human society, is built on imagination. Otherwise, we'd just be monkeys swinging from trees still. Like, that's all we'd be. Maybe we'd be, plain apes that hunt, but even like hunting with spears, like somebody had to have the imaginative idea that this pointy stick can help me hunt. Or if I rub these two things together, I get a spark and fire. And like most of what human beings have created over many, many millennia are acts of imagination. So where do those inspired imaginative ideas come from? That's astral realm as a way of explaining that. Jump in there, Shakti. Correct me where I'm wrong, because I don't hang out there as much as you do.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much though, because this is your
No,
show, man.
no. This is we have you on here, and you've been a great
Okay.
contributor so far. I'll tell you to shut up when I get bored of you.
All right, I'll take it. Well, you have it in the very nature of your channel. It's way seer. So you have the word seer in there, which is a seer. A seer is essentially a prophet, is someone that can see into the future. People call it woo-woo stuff. There's no scientific, physical evidence that comes behind that. But if we were to, the way that I see it is, if we were to stand behind all that physical evidence that we absolutely have to have before we actually believe something, we wouldn't get anywhere in life. And astral traveling, moving out of that and pulling it into this 3D reality and creating something out of those ideas that you got while you were in that other realm, is where genius comes from. And that's where your videos are all about, Garrett. Like you say, oh God, what it so, playthings of our souls. It's, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so all of that is just reached from these different dimensional realities. And the thing is that navigating it it takes a lot of experience. It takes a lot of work, because you can run into spirit guides and all these entities that are just surrounding your head, and you can hear them and you can see them, and they can get really pushy because a lot of them, they want to experience life through a body, and they don't have a body, and we do. And so there's a lot of opinions that are going on in the astral world. You tap into what people think of you, how they see you, negative perspectives, judgments. Sometimes it's so harsh when people wake up because of their whole life, the way that they've been living. They all of a sudden can start hearing what their mom thinks and what their dad thinks, and it can be crushing if they don't have a good self-image of you. And so there's just so much information that comes in all at once that a lot of people have psychosis issues, or they develop bipolar, or the awakening of the Kundalini is a very energetic process. It comes all the way down from are you guys familiar with Kundalini? Is that a word that we need to
I'm familiar with it. We probably should explain it a little bit to the audience, but I did Kundalini yoga for like 5 years during college. So like, I'm totally down with the Kundalini.
Yeah. And another,
like,
go ahead.
Brittany and Madonna did it. That's literally, I don't know what I just know it's like some spiritual practice. Feel free to educate.
Yeah. Well, one thing I really, really want to hit on hard though is pharmaceuticals and like therapists and psychologists. And when you have these spiritual awakenings, a lot of them like to slap a label on it and call things like schizophrenia, for example, is out of control hearing voices in different realms, and you're not able to navigate them or control them, versus telepathy. What is telepathy? It's being able to know who is speaking to you when you hear that stuff. But you go talk to a therapist or psychologist about it, what are they going to do? They're going to give you some medication, and a lot of these medications in the pharmaceutical company, I think, are very dangerous to those that are awakening. And so it's, you just got to walk that line.
So this is interesting. So one of the things you've mentioned a number of times is watching out for the entities, and I got to agree with that. Like, I've experienced sort of being psychically fucked with enough that I I'm definitely on guard with it. And as I've been dabbling with psychedelics, there's something in me that like recognizes in the come up, which is like when you're starting to trip, and it's like it's kind of a surge of out of control feelings, and where are you going, and where is your mind melting to, and I've on a number of occasions experienced some sort of entity kind of trying to engage with me, and I don't know what their intention is, but it doesn't feel like it's me. It feels like this something that's external to my psyche, and I want to trust them, but I don't. I have a very small sphere of psychic trust, and that basically boils down for me to be like the Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ. It's like if you know, or one of my angels, and it's like, if you're not one of them, or like maybe my deceased godmother, if you're not one of them, like, I don't fucking trust you. Like, and so a lot of times I'll just be like, look, I am here just to seek the Most High. I might be tripping balls and out of my mind, but I know where up is, and that's the only direction I'm willing to go. Can you speak to like any of that stuff? Like, you know, when someone's tripping, are they in the astral realm? Are they, you know, what are they doing? Like, what's happening there?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, definitely. And I think that I know that your technique in only wanting to speak to your higher self is a safe way to go, because there is so much noise in the astral realm, and you do have to be careful who you listen to and what you're listening to. A lot of reasons why people are afraid of taking this route and actually going down the rabbit hole is being exposed to those entities. And once you're awakened to that stuff, you start realizing the state that our planet is on. You know, it's like, so people are like, don't wake up, because you're going to feel what it's like for a cow to get slaughtered, or for a pig to get slaughtered, or what a mass shooting feels like, because you can tap into that kind of stuff. Yeah. And a lot of it is so horrifying, and traumatizing. But the problem is that if people don't wake up and become awake and realize what's going on, then we can't do anything to change it. And so I'm going to tell everybody, I'm going to say, go gung ho for it. Like, go as far down the rabbit hole as you possibly can, because it will shift and it will change your soul and the purpose of your soul and why you're here. And you'll be more of a force for good than anything. But there are techniques that you can do to protect yourself from lower vibrational beings.
So what are some of those techniques?
I do, I don't know if I should, okay. I do a crystalline consciousness technique, and I paid a mentor a few $1,000s to learn this. It taps into a very high frequency energy grid. It's like getting a higher computer. I process information a lot faster, and that's why I think that I can do these kinds of things. But there's meditation, there is visualization. Everybody has to find out what works for them, because everybody is so different. All I can tell you is what I do and how I protect myself.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what I do, because why not? And I feel like this can help people, especially if you are a traveler, a wanderer, a wayseer. You know, I think it's very risky to kind of go exploring. And the reason I think it's risky is because the psychic territory is, like, if you think of hard drugs like heroin, right? Like, that'll suck you right in. But that's just like a stupid little chemical. Imagine some very, I don't know how to say it, magnetic being or entity in the astral realm or wherever. It's like they could suck you in for lifetimes. I just worry about that. So for me, you know, there is this character, my imaginary friend, if you will, when I'm going to the land of make-believe, is Jesus Christ. And so, like, now, is that guy real? I think he's real. I experience him as real. Others might say, no, you're just talking to yourself. Well, whatever I'm talking to, like, my highest self. If I'm not talking to, like, the highest self, which is how I regard him. And then the Holy Spirit I regard as, like, the light or the memory of the ultimate God. And so it's like, I'm willing to talk to the Father, the ultimate source of all reality. I'm willing to talk to the Holy Spirit, the memory of that source of all reality. And I'm willing to, be guided by Jesus Christ and his angels to, like, go somewhere. But, like, aside from that, like, I start to get a lot of trepidation, because I just have an instinctual sense that there's so many boogeymen out there. And maybe that's a fearful way of approaching the astral realm, but I just feel like it's street smart or astral smart. I don't know. That's just kind of, that's where I hail from. I don't know. And and I'm saying that because if anyone else is out there doing psychedelics or astral traveling or whatever, it's like, I don't know, protect yourself. Like, it just seems like, geez, you'll put a condom on for fucking a stranger, but, like, you go let some crazy entity into your mind and hijack you. That seems like really dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, and that can definitely happen. If I could talk about meth for a little bit,
Yeah.
that's a lower drug that's a very demonic drug, and it will pull as many demons towards you as you can. So I try to steer clear from that. I'm huge on earth plants like mushrooms and marijuana and ayahuasca. Those will lead you in good directions. But Garrett, you were saying you weren't sure if Jesus Christ or these entities that you were experiencing were external outside of you, or if it was something that was inside your head. What you learn as you go more down this path is you find out that there is a whole universe inside every single person, and your whole subconscious is a whole playground. So you could have like monsters in your own subconscious, but after a while, when you get to know yourself super well, you can tell the difference between an external entity when you really are talking to something outside of yourself and what is inside of yourself. You can tell the difference between the two. And I I can tell you that Jesus Christ, he's definitely there. He's a collective consciousness. He's someone that a large majority of people on the planet feed into. It's a collective belief. And so if that just helps any of the doubters or skeptics of where this stuff's come from.
Yeah, when in doubt, go with Jesus, right? I think if you call like with your heart for the highest, and you say, I mean, people talk about being born again or saved or whatever, and it's like all you really have to do is just say, I believe in Jesus Christ, and you're saved, right? Well, that's pretty cool. And if there's a sort of magic identity, Jesus Christ, that you can sort of dial in, so it's like almost like Jesus Christ is a name, but it's like a phone number to, a lifeline that will help you. It's like, God, use it as much as possible until they say, sorry, dude, you can't call that number anymore. Like, keep calling that number. You're harassing the dude. So I think that's an important thing. Someone just asking, whoa, Garrett, DMT or shrooms? I can only say shrooms because I've only done shrooms. I have a number of friends and acquaintances and know a bunch of people who've done DMT, and they all say it's fucking awesome. But a lot of times it's like they don't quite remember what was awesome about it or how it was awesome, or they can't explain it. I don't know. I mean, I haven't done it yet, but it sounds to me very much. Do you know anything about this? Anyone here? No? Shakti?
Yeah. I do. Yeah.
Yep.
If you can't remember your experiences while you're on shrooms or while you're on weed or ayahuasca, what you can do is you have to do this consistently. You have to do a meditation to where you're connecting your subconscious to your conscious brain, and those experiences will filter their way to your conscious to where you remember them, just like dreams. And so again, they're enlightening techniques, meditation, yoga, eat good, just look up tons of ways on how to just connect both those sides of your brains together, and you'll remember it. So
cool.
I've had that happen multiple times.
Yeah. But in terms of a recommendation, you mentioned the plant medicines. DMT is sort of part of ayahuasca. It's also like, if you look at psilocybin, so DMT's in ayahuasca. It's just a slow burn of DMT when you're doing ayahuasca. It also turns out that psilocybin, which is what's in shrooms, looks very similar to DMT. It's like one tiny bit different than DMT, and it's also a slow burn. If you're like hitting like sort of freebase DMT, you're gonna get like a 15-minute like rocketing into who knows what. But do you have any insight in terms of like how the 15-minute DMT trip can positively or negatively affect someone versus like the ayahuasca trip or the shroom trip that's much more slow burn?
I haven't done DMT
Yep.
Or ayahuasca yet. Mm-hmm. I have done shrooms, so I can't really comment on those specifically.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, all right, so that's it. But we all do know meth is gonna fuck with you. Stay away from the meth. Stay away from any of the heroin, the opiates, the narcotics. Now, okay, so I have another question for you about meth. I agree, like meth is a horrible thing. You see like what it does to people. But the weird thing is, like, meth is so fucking close to Ritalin. It's, in fact, it's methylamphetamine. methamphetamine or whatever. That's Ritalin's actual name. Hold on, I probably have a bottle here somewhere. I could like read it off. But like, what the fuck? Like, what is what's this? Yeah, methylphenidate. You know, like this is fucking meth, and we give it to our kids. Like, is that?
Yeah. That is a good question. Okay, so I'll just tell you an experience that I had. People with ADHD that have been diagnosed with it, it works for them. It does something, it balances them out. I'm not a doctor, but for those that it does not balance them out, it can throw you in a really dark place. My experience with it is I did have Adderall. It was a couple years ago, because I thought that I had ADHD, but I really didn't. And so I took it for about 3 days, you could say. And I'm super, super sensitive. I completely jumped out of my body, and I had a very dark being actually enter into my body based off of that. And I was not in control of exactly who was navigating and who was conducting and using my body. And I scared the shit out of my family. Like, they remember it. Yeah, very, very detailed. Like, and so it just, and I've talked with people that have been on meth where it's not Adderall and they're just taking the hard drug. And they've reported after taking it for a few years of seeing shadow people. That's what they call them, shadow people.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I mean, demons though, they're a whole other subject within themselves. I don't believe that they should be feared, to be honest with you, because they have their place. They're here for a reason. They don't have souls, but that's a whole other subject. But with Adderall, again, the kids, I think they need it for some sort of balance. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. What do you think?
I want to hear from Shireen, but Shireen, your microphone or something is a little low. I don't know how maybe your microphone's covered, or maybe you're not plugged in.
No, it's plugged in. Can you
okay.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Now, have you been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, Shireen?
No, but I
okay. So,
if I had it.
have you ever done Addy?
Is that like a test? Oh no,
Adderall.
No, I've never done that.
No. Okay. So you don't, but you've had Starbucks coffee.
This is true.
I mean, let me tell you guys something. Like, we all think like, you know, meth. I think meth. Okay, meth. Whatever. It seems kind of fucked up. Now they make meth from pseudoephedrine, right? So the meth labs are buying pseudoephedrine from the pharmacies, and then that's why they make you sign for anything with that's like Sudafed or has pseudoephedrine in it now. So I don't know what the difference is between those, but it seems like there's a bunch of stuff that's kind of in the same area. And I have a friend at the bar who like talks a mile a minute, and he's very intense, and he seems like somebody who's like hopped up on Adderall. And I keep asking him, "What are you on, dude? What are you on?" And he's like, "I'm not on anything." I'm like, "Dude, you've got to be on something. You're talking like," you hear people who are on Adderall and they talk like I'm talking right now, but they won't stop. And they and it turns out like he just drinks 2 Starbucks dark roasts a day, and that shit gets him so hopped up. And I know it. I've been there. I've done that too. It's like, you can go to Starbucks coffee. By the way, if you look it up, I don't know if my numbers are exactly right, but I think they're pretty close. Last time I looked it up, a large iced coffee from Starbucks is the equivalent of 10 Dunkin' Donuts coffees. 10.
Holy crap.
That's 10 cups of coffee. So you think, well, maybe I should just get decaf. That's the equivalent of 2 Dunkin' Donuts coffees. The decaf. The Starbucks decaf is equivalent to 2 Dunkin' Donuts like full calf coffees. So it's like Starbucks, I think, was built on like, hey, can we like freebase the caffeine into the, like, put like 10 times the caffeine in our drinks and like get people really hooked? Caffeine is addictive. And so I think like we're all kind of living right now in a hyper stimulant world. I have to drink like 2 or 3 rock stars just to wake up in the morning now. And everybody's hooked on Starbucks, and people are taking Adderall and Ritalin and Concerta. It's like, okay, so, and then we've got all the meth people meth fiends. And it's only the meth fiends that are seeing the shadow people, but it seems like, Jesus, aren't all these other things kind of in the same vicinity?
Yeah, yeah. And I haven't taken hard drugs. I'm just gonna say that right now, like cocaine or heroin. But
Yep.
I'm starting to believe that as I meet more people that have, each drug takes you on a completely different trip and a completely different reality. And I believe that the longer you take it and the longer you go down that road, the more you can explore it. So yes, be careful with drugs. I'm just gonna say that right there, obviously. But sugar does the same thing. Sugar is just as addictive as meth is, and sugar will age you prematurely. Starbucks putting that in their coffee, it would make complete sense. It's what they do.
It's
Addict
funny you mentioned
everybody.
sugar because like the American Indians when Europeans first came to the New World, to the Americas, the American Indians were all excited about sugar and firewater. Like those are the two drugs that they traded for because they had never had this stuff before. So like those were like legit, like firewater, alcohol, and sugar were like the two things that like the American Indians were like, whoa, give me some of that stuff. That's some good drugs right there you got. So that is interesting that, we got to remember sugar is a drug. People are talking on the chats here about peyote, DMT. I haven't done peyote, I haven't done DMT, but I would say like peyote is what mescaline is from, and the people I've talked to who have done it swear by it. They say it's good. I mean, I think it'll make you throw up, so just be careful about that. So will ayahuasca. I'm not in the mood to throw up when I'm about to trip. Like, I don't think I want to do that, It's like, that doesn't seem like a way to get a good trip going. It's like, I'm just feeling nauseous and throwing up. But
Well, if I can throw something in right there, when it comes to ayahuasca and DMT, these are kind of they're sacred earth plants, and so they're not just for a regular trip. Hey, let's go have some fun and do this. You do it with a purpose and intention in mind. You do it for cleansing, for purging of the body, and so not recreational, I wouldn't say, but I'm sure some people use it recreationally.
well, and I would agree. I would say even with shrooms, like if you're actually going to take a significant dose of shrooms, respect it. People who do these things at music festivals, that's to me is just like exposing yourself to these entities in the astral realm. Exposing yourself, like being wide open on something like shrooms at a music festival to like all the fucked up other people there. Like, no, don't do that. Like, go do this on your own in a sacred place. Like, that'd be my recommendation. I would not. Now, I say this now. Who knows? Maybe in a few years I'll be, rolling at a music festival and see the beauty and joy in that. But it just seems like you're asking for punishment if you're opening yourself up in a crowd. Because people are carrying around all kinds of like psychic or psychological nonsense that they could kind of, I don't know,
Yep.
you could catch because you're wide open on this stuff,
Yeah, yeah. And I've done that before. I've been on shrooms at a festival in California in San Francisco, and that was quite a trip. But we were playing a game. Have you guys ever heard of the elevator game before? Where you go to the fifth floor, then the first, and then you go all the way up, and you essentially enter into into hell itself.
No.
Anyways, I have a very
Tell-
dark friend.
Okay, I want to hear about this. So you did shrooms at a music festival, and so what happened? Were you playing the elevator game at that festival on shrooms?
Yep, we did, and we'll have to put it in the links or somewhere, like the kind of game that you play. But I was very susceptible to lots of different energies, and I went to a completely different realm with them. And these entities actually they came home with me all the way from California to Utah, and I had to deal with them and send them back home.
So would you do it again, or was that a mistake to do shrooms at a music festival?
I wouldn't do it again. Not with what we were doing. So we were just playing with things that we shouldn't have been playing with.
Gotcha.
Like Bloody Mary game. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So someone's saying that 7 cups of coffee make you hear voices. I hear voices. I can hear voices without 7 cups of coffee. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. I'm just reading through some comments here. I completely agree with the pharmaceutical chemical effects on us, our friends, loved ones. Does anyone remember the movie The Emerald Forest? I don't. Shireen, do you remember Emerald Forest?
I think I'm having technical difficulties. My mic's not working that great.
Oh, I hear you now.
Oh, okay, good. No, I've never seen that movie.
Okay.
But actually, guys, you're on a hella roll, and my babysitter unfortunately needs to get off early today. So I think I'm gonna pop off here, and you guys just like keep this party going, okay?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Hugs and
Take care,
kisses.
Shireen. Bye.
Bye, Shane. Good to meet you.
All right. So, I mean, I feel like we've gone pretty far here. Is there any other things, like anybody in the peanut gallery, stuff you want to talk about before we go? Because we can go all day, but I feel like this has been a good talk. This has been a good roll. What else you got for us? Like, Shakti, what things like were you inspired to talk about before you came on? Is there anything that
Yeah, I just want to, I don't want to steer anyone clear or have them be afraid of trying these kinds of things, because ultimately, when you die and you leave the body, you're going to see everything, feel everything, hear everything. The body is just some sort of boundary that keeps you encapsulated and keeps you in. So I mean, I would tell our audience, like, don't be afraid to see where you can go, and just stay grounded, stay in the body, don't leave for too long. And Garrett, I'm super, like, I apologize because I don't have anybody's comments up here. I wasn't able to have them pop up.
It's okay. I'm watching them on the video feed here, and I have the YouTube ones. So someone's saying lunar eclipse tonight. Don't panic. And how do you intelligently astral travel with skill?
I created, everybody has something called a Merkaba, and you spell it Merkaba. And it's an energetic ship that you can put yourself into. It's, again, it's on you'll learn about that as you go, but that's how I protect myself, is when I go somewhere, I put myself literally inside this energetic ship, and then I direct my thoughts and my consciousness of wherever I want to go. So if you can just control your thoughts, honestly, then you should be just fine.
So I got into lucid dreaming. That's about as like I throw up every time I do shrooms. Oh, it sucks for you. Try tea though, Sarah. Make shroom tea. I've heard that's easier on your stomach. Or you could also try lemon tech. But you could give those a shot. What the tea does is it takes the psilocybin out of the mushroom, turns it to, I don't know. You can look up what the tea does. I don't know exactly what it does. But in terms of like astral travel, like I had a period in my life where I was totally vegan, meditating like an hour a day, like just so like bent on, I don't know, spiritual experience / perfection. And I was having lots of lucid dreams where I was flying and stuff like that. What's the difference? Like what's you talk about this spaceship you can get into to go traveling. Like what's is this something you prefer to do while you're sleeping, or is it something you do like when you're meditating, or is it something that you just happen to be doing like all the time because you're so used to it? Like what's the progression? How do you kind of get into the astral travel game in a constructive or positive way?
Oh yeah. God, that's a good question. The way that lucid dreaming, astral traveling, being awake, the thing is that there's so many parts to your emotional body, your physical body, your mental body, that the thing is that everybody's doing it to some degree or another. And you said that you were vegan. You've already done that. You've gone down that road. I'm vegetarian. I haven't done meat for a really long time. So number one, it's all about the body. You have to be healthy. You have to care about what's going on in your body. It's your vehicle. Processed foods, GMOs, fluoride out of your water, all that kind of crap. Uh, just elevate it that way. And then again, with the meditation, the yoga, I work out a lot. Just again, it's about keeping your body in shape. And I don't know, like I just have been developing it and like and meditating, and it's just something that's happened, and just these gifts just to come. And I don't know if there's an exact path for every single person, because everybody's got different DNA and different genetics and different gifts. I mean, I met a guy the other day that could see into my history. He could see into my life history, and he could even pull out sections that I had completely forgotten and make me aware of them. And so there's just such a plethora, and there's an abundance of gifts and intuitive things that people are capable of doing. But I'll just start with the basics. You just have to be super healthy. Once your body's healthy, and then you can start taking those steps onto more advanced things. But it takes time. It takes a couple of years, but it's completely worth it. 100% worth it.
So
does
even
that
though,
answer it?
yeah, so even though you're going into the astral realm, you need to have your body together. Like, that's interesting. Like I was vegan in college. I gave it up shortly afterwards, and haven't really made it back since. So I guess I'll have to.
Why did
What's
why
that?
did you switch that? Why did you stop being vegan? Tell me about that.
So my son was on the way, and all of a sudden, my wife, like, so she's pregnant with them, probably 6 months pregnant. And she's like, I need steak. Like, she was just like, I need steak, and we just started eating steak, and we never really we have stopped with the steak, especially her. She stopped, but yeah, no, I'll still go back to it. Like, after that threshold was broken, I was so like, vegans, I think there's a tendency to get obsessive about like staying vegan, and I definitely was pretty vigilant about not eating meat and not and just avoiding all these foods, and you kind of get so used to it. But then once you stop doing it, it's like, oh, I don't have to think about that shit anymore. And it's like that kind of, and then your life gets complicated. You have children running around, and life, it's just like, and you just don't have the energy to like worry about your diet anymore like that. So I for me, that's kind of where it ended up being.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a secret. Meat it's God. Again, I don't know people's DNA and their genetics, and some people just claim by the Holy Bible that they have to have meat, or they're not going to live without it. And so I guess everybody's different, but what I have learned about that is it's dead enzymes. So essentially you're putting something dead inside your body, and it's not alive. And what it does for your consciousness is it grounds you inside this very third dimensional reality, and it kind of puts up those walls, and it makes it difficult to astral travel and to move past and to increase your frequency. It grounds you, so it'll keep you here, but if that's what you want.
Oh, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah. So the act of eating meat is like, because now in order to eat meat, you basically have had to kill some other creature, which means like it's a very active in the world. I've always not always, but like my present argument is like, well, you're killing plants by eating plants, but I also see that I can see how that's a much denser. It's a different density. Like, eating plants is it's a lesser density, and I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'll compare the two. When you consume an animal, it had a lot of resistance to dying because it just has that natural innate thing. And so what you're doing is you're consuming that trauma that they went through, and you're making it part of your body, and it's just how it is. But when it comes to plants, this may sound even a little nutty for you, but I've been able to connect and even speak with plants. There was one time where there was a strawberry that did not want to be eaten by me. It wanted to be eaten by my partner, because my partner would enjoy the experience so much more. And so these plants, they get to become a part of your DNA. They get to become a part of your human existence, and they get to experience it through your consciousness. And so they live to be consumed when compared to, something that's alive that doesn't want to be consumed. However, I will state this: there have been times where I've just been so high and not grounded in my body that I've literally had to go eat like a turkey sandwich or something just so that I could solidify myself back into this reality. And so I think meat is essential. It has its place in time, so that you're not flying too sky high without it. I try not to go too long.
That's super interesting, and I dig that idea. It's like it depends on where you want to go. If you want to go high up into the ether, stick with the plants. I mean, I've also spoken with plants, mostly trees, and they're they're like hanging out under the stars, and it seems like, so there's a couple of things, like it seems like their consciousness, whatever consciousness is in trees, it's a very different consciousness, but like you can commune with it. And their consciousness seems to be very like up looking at the stars all night. Like that's what they do. But then they also are like ministering to us and like watching over us. And I'll see trees that like they take care of the family that's living near them. So it's like there's a house and there's a tree on that right next to that house. And as I'm like in an altered state, I'll be like, hey, tree, and the tree's like, hey, and like we have this little moment, and then I'm like, oh, like you can actually feel the emotion of that entire family and like how that tree is ministering to that whole family night and day, like just there, like sort of holding for them, like, and all the emotional trauma and tribulations going on in that household. It's like they're there, like ministering to that household. And it's the most beautiful thing. Like I have fallen deeply in love with the 3 or 5 trees around my house. Like I realize how much they're sort of ministering to us. And then every now and then I see some bastards like go cut down the trees, the big old like trees that are hanging out around their house, and they go cut them down. I'm like, you fucking idiots. Do you not know like what those trees were doing for you?
Yeah.
It just seems like we're blind as I don't know, we've got this human blindness where we're just like think, oh well, I want my house to not have those trees blocking the sun or whatever. It's like, yeah, you don't realize that those trees are like ministering to you. They are the best thing about your property is these 100, 200, 300 year old trees like sitting on your property, and they just cut them down. It's like that drives me crazy. That drives me more crazy than people, like the animal killing that is involved in meat. Like I've actually I get upset about the trees. And then the weird thing is, like recently there was this house on my block, 3 huge trees, like their trunks were like arm spans, and they were just gone one day. I'm like, holy shit, I cannot believe this felt like a massacre had happened. And then I'm out under the stars on my shrooms later on in that week and talking to the other trees and saying, hey, sorry about your friends. And they're like, no worries. Like, we're all just consciousness. Consciousness doesn't die. And I've just definitely noticed that about shrooms, is like, they're like, there is no death. Like, there was one time when I was suicidal and I was on shrooms, and I'm like sort of expecting the shrooms to like rush in, like I was suicidal and I was like in a really bad place, and I was expecting the sort of shroom spirit to come in and be like, oh, I'll get you right. Like that's what I was hoping it would do. That's why I took them. It's like, okay, the spirit of the shrooms would come in and get me right and be like, you poor thing, we're gonna show you the light, we're gonna make you feel better, we're gonna get you out of this depressed state and help you not kill yourself. And yet the weird thing was that they were like completely neutral about it. They're like, you want to kill yourself, go ahead, it's no big deal. Like you don't cease to exist, like it's up to you. And I just find that really weird. And I may have shared this with somebody, and I want to say almost like my son pointed out at one time. It's like, yeah, the mushrooms like grow on like decaying carcasses, like they're literally reincarnation. Like they are, like, you know. So I don't know. I was just ranting here.
Well, it's a fungus for sure. It's a fungi. It takes you, again, it's its own subject. It's its own genre, you could say.
Yeah.
But with the trees, that is amazing that you've connected with them. Trees are unique within themselves. And when we run upon humans that are they're just looking at the aesthetics of the situation. Let's cut down this tree so I could see out my window and so that the sun could come in. Hopefully we can get humanity to a point where they're learning to live with nature instead of against nature, as in, yeah, we're the only beings on this planet. We're superior. We're the highest. So we have a right to destroy everything around us. Essentially, it's raping the planet when we do that. And when we're, not letting evolution take its place and technology take its place, like with oil and, cars that don't need oil to run. Like there's just so much going on. But I'm convinced that if people can elevate their frequencies and that consciousness up to that level, you can tap into animals, you can be empathic, how animals are feeling, how trees are feeling, how your environment is feeling around you. I just don't want our planet to turn into something like Mars, where we take everything from her and too late to go back. But
right. And there's some sort of folklore or scientific mythology about, maybe Mars was where we were before we fucked it up, and we're now the recolonization of another planet after we screwed up Mars. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, and the irony of like Elon Musk like working so hard to make it possible for us to go back and recolonize Mars. Super interesting. We're gonna wrap things up now. I don't. Someone says, "What about dairy? Do you have any thoughts about dairy before we go, in terms of its energetic or what it does for you or against you?"
I love cheese. I'm addicted to cheese. I'm working on getting rid of that. But like, I look at things like honey and milk and things that that animals provide for you. As long as they're giving it freely, I don't think it's a big deal. So, but I mean, dairy doesn't really help people. I mean, the research I've done on dairy, it really just holds your body back. It isn't something that's necessary.
So, for everyone, I would say look into blood types. Someone mentioned they're A positive. I'm O negative. I think blood types or your sort of genetic lineage, like if you do 23andMe and you find out like your ancestry is from fishing villages, like maybe you'll be more, maybe your makeup will be more enlivened by eating fish, or someone who's like, maybe your genetic ancestry is Switzerland. I think dairy would probably be very good for you if, like, for the last, 2,000 years, your people have been living off of cheese and milk. Like, you're probably really well set up. Your constitution is probably really set up for that. Other people are lactose intolerant, and their genetics or ancestry probably didn't have a lot of exposure to cheese and milk, and so those things can affect you. I have a question about chicken. So I get that like beef is bad, okay? And the reason I get that is because if you look into a cow's eyes, so why would I want to eat a cow? And if I had to kill the cow, I never would eat beef. But on the other hand, chickens, I don't like chickens. I think they're tiny dinosaurs. I think they literally are. And I think if you look recently, they've been saying Tyrannosaurus rexes had feathers, okay? And those motherfuckers fed on our mammalian ancestors. And I think chickens are like mini T-Rexes. I think they're like lineage. I think they're probably related to Tyrannosaurus rexes. And I say, fuck those chickens. I will eat those chickens. I will. It's payback time, chickens, and I don't have a problem with eating chickens, because I regard them as little dinosaurs, little Tyrannosaurus rexes that deserve to be killed and eaten. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't believe in suffering, but I also don't. I think chickens will even eat chickens. They eat chickens. Like chickens will eat chickens. They'll eat anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
oh, can you hear me? Oh,
yes,
okay,
I can hear you.
I've had, when I was little growing up, and we'll wrap this up here, but I used to hate cows. I used to hate them. It's like their energy that was coming off of them, and I was like, what is this repulsion that I feel towards them? And I found out later on in life it's because cows have such a repulsion to humans. They hate us. They can't stand our guts because of what we've used them as the scapegoat for our food. So it feels like there's this sort of like reincarnation. Everybody's like switching who gets to be the one that is eaten. Maybe it's chickens this time. I don't know. But yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, I think that was a great talk. I really appreciate y'all being in here. Some says please look up Paul Stamets TED Talk about mushrooms saving the world. Yeah, Paul Stamets, like he also has some talks on Joe Rogan's show, and super interesting dude. Loves his mushrooms like crazy. I think he tries to stretch it a little too far. He might be over obsessed with mushrooms. But then again, I haven't spent nearly as much time hanging out with the little critters, those mushrooms, as he has. Maybe he knows something we don't. But he definitely, if you want to know anything about mushrooms, that dude is one of the world's leading experts, and super interesting stuff he has to say about it. Anyway, that's it. Great talking with you all. I think we've had a great time with Shakti. Say anything, like any message you want to get to her. Shakti, do you have like a website or a way people connect with you?
Oh, that's good. Just an email, I guess, or I'm on Facebook. Is my name hard to spell? It's Shakthi, last name Nordic, Nordic. So there's a lot of ways you can. Shakti.nordic@gmail.com, and then
okay. So and if you can also probably put something in the comments, and Shakti, you could go to the comments, but there's like 4 different places. So like and we're gonna have her back. So as long as she'll come back, we'll have her back, and so you'll get to hear from her again later. So if you have questions, get them ready for the next one. We'll start. I can't decipher any more of these comments. So I think we're done. God bless you all. Have a great week. We'll be here same time, same place next week.